Well, welcome back, everybody, and we have the Cleveland Naps here for you against the Philadelphia Athletics. As you can see up here, the Naps at 20-12, the Athletics at 20-15. Cleveland won the last time these two teams played, and that means that we have four teams here in the 1908 American League at exactly 20 wins. I tell you, that's a pretty impressive feat, if you ask me. I mean, four teams here with 20 wins already in this season, and that's sort of what we would have expected from the National League, where in real life it was the Giants, the Cubs, and the Pirates. But the Pirates are 11 out there, the Cubs are 4 out, and the Giants are running away with everything with a winning percentage of almost 800. So the American League playing out a lot differently. As you'll remember, the Detroit Tigers won it in real life. They're at 17-16 now. They've won 5 straight, but 3.5 games out still. And the White Sox, who were one of the teams that were competing, well, they are 5 games out. They've also won 3. So it's kind of up for grabs here in the American League. We're only, about 34, 35 games per team through the season, but we are already a ways through the season. It's going to be Josh Clark leading this one off. We'll see what we can do here if we are able to make this come up a little bit better for you. And I'm afraid that the dice rolls are probably going to be a little hard to see, so I'll read those out for you as we go along. Josh Clark is the first hitter here for the Naps, and he's hitting 343. His roll is a 12 for a 24. The 24 is a ground ball over to Nichols, that shortstop who throws to first, and there is one away. Starting here for the Athletics is Rube Vickers, who has a 6-3 record. His ERA is 1.98, but remember it's 1908, so that might look awesome in 2024. 1908, it might not be quite as awesome. 199 is what the league's hitting off of him, and here comes George Stovall. Stovall rolls a 65 for a 35. That's a little E number. And the roll's a 44. It's out of the range. So it's going to be a pop-up over to the left side, and it'll be the other Collins, Jimmy Collins, grabbing that for the out, 2 away. And here comes the big man. Napoleon LaJoie is hitting 268, 315 on base percentage, 341 slugging. He's been hitting kind of disappointingly. And he rolls a 45 for a 14. That'll be a walk. Vickers can't do anything to stop that. That brings up Bill Bradley. So the runner on at first base is Napoleon. Here comes Bill, hitting 203. And Bradley rolls a 15 for an 11, and that's going to be hit over past first base. That gets through Davis, and that'll be over into the corner. Base hit there for Bradley, who stops at first, and Napoleon goes all the way over to third. And then with Clark up there, the other Clark, Jay Clark up to bat, Bradley skills second base. And so now there's runners on at second and third for Cleveland with 2 outs here in the top of the first inning. And here again comes Jay Clark. He's hitting 243. Not getting on base that much. And his roll is a 61 for a 36, changed to a 40. That's going to be a little ground ball over to second. Collins, Eddie that is, has it and throws to first. And just like that, we go to the bottom of the first inning. No score. Bottom of the first, Eddie Collins the batter. And the roll is a 56 for a 32. It'll be a fly ball over to right field. And putting that one away is Bill Hinchman, 1 away. Heine Berger, the pitcher here for Cleveland, 2-3 the record. 1.47 ERA, but the 200 batted against average. As I told you, don't pay too much attention to that ERA. Here's Harry Davis. Davis rolls a 62 for a 12 as a ground ball over to first. Stovall has that and goes to the bag himself, 2 away. Topsy Hartzell now. Hartzell hitting 230, and he rolls a 35 for a 14. He has been getting on base, and he takes the 4th ball there from Heine Berger. That'll bring up Danny Murphy. 2 outs, no bunt on. Athletics hoping to get something across early. We all hope for that, and Murphy rolls a 63 for a 31. It's a fly ball over to center. Birmingham has that. We go to the top of the second inning. Bill Hinchman will lead this off. Hinchman's hitting 205. Rolls a 46 for a 13. That's a strikeout, first one that Vickers has recorded. 1 away. Vickers has struck out 35 this season against 31 walks. Here comes Joe Birmingham. Hitting 250. Nice for a guy hitting 7th, but not getting on base. Rolls a 56 for a 34. It's a pop-up. Left side, Nichols, the shortstop, calls them off and grabs that for the out, 2 away. And up now is George Perring. Perring hitting 213 this season. Rolls a 42 for a 32. It's a little fly ball to right field. Murphy has that for the out, and we'll go to the bottom of the second. It'll be Simon Nichols. Small crowd here, but of course it's always a small crowd. The capacity in 1908 of Columbia Park here in Philadelphia, right around 13,000. You think a lot about the famous Athletics of 1905. It was, I believe, 1905 when they finally expanded this park. Before then, it was under 10,000, if you can imagine that. Simon Nichols leads this off, rolls a 63 for a 30. It's a fly ball to the left, and it's Josh Clark for the out, one away. Up comes Schreckengost. Shy Park, of course, doesn't open until 1909, so you have a little bit, it's either 09 or 010, or 10, 010. Either 09 or 10, so you have a little bit to go before that one opens up. Schreckengost rolls a 43 for a 29. It's a comebacker to Berger, who throws to first, and there's 2 away. Here comes Jimmy Collins, who's hitting 202. Shy Park, that's kind of exemplifies how the Athletics had taken over Philadelphia. It was, of course, a National League town until Connie Mack and his Mary Gain came along. They were competitive the first couple of years, and then they eventually left town, and the franchise has been suffering since. Collins rolls a 42 for a 13. That's a strikeout, and we go to the top of the 3rd inning. Top of the 3rd, Heine Berger, the pitcher for Cleveland, is due up, and up he comes. Berger, of course, hitting 077. Rolls a 63 for a 29. Comebacker to Vickers, who throws to first. There is 1 away. Josh Clark up now. Clark's 0 for 1. Had that ground ball first time up to Nichols. Rolls a 25 for an 11. That'll be a single over to left field in front of Hartzell for a base hit, and that was Stovall up there. Clark steals second. So Cleveland hoping to pull one across. This is a big game between 2 competing teams. If Philadelphia wins this one, it's a real feather in their cap because they'll move up to within half a game. Here comes George. And he rolls a 34 for a 44. There is a little E-roll here with 1 out. Rolls a 43 out of the range. There's a little fly ball to center, and Coombs has that one easily. 2 away, and up comes the big man. Napoleon, nearing the end of that magnificent career, though I guess he wasn't that old, rolls a 64 for a 22, and that's going to be a stolen base by Josh Clark as he catches Vickers unawares, and so he steals 3rd. LaJoey's still up there, and he rolls a 55 for a 7. That's a base hit to left field again, this time in front of Hartzell, and that will score the run. So it's a 1-0 lead for the Naps. They do pull it off, and that'll bring up Bill Bradley. If you've been watching these 1908 games, in case you're new, you need to know that that 1-0 lead could stand up because there's not a lot of offense here, not a lot of guys going yard. Here's Bradley, and Bill rolls a 42 for a 13, and that's the strikeout. We go to the bottom of the 3rd inning now. 1-0, the Naps in the lead, and here is Jack Coombs. Coombs hitting 233, outfielder and pitcher. We're probably going to end up overplaying him because Philadelphia's outfield needs some work, and we need his bat. Roll 46 for a 29. Comebacker to Berger, who throws to first, and there's 1 away. Up now is Rube Vickers, the pitcher. Vickers rolls a 24 for a 13, and there's a strikeout. Second one recorded now by Berger. 2 away. Up is Eddie Collins. Bottom of the 3rd inning, 1-0 game. Collins rolls a 32 for a 26 as a ground ball to Napoleon, who throws to first, and we go to the top of the 4th. Here is Jay Clark. Jay Clark up there hitting 240. Rolls a 33 for a 7, and that'll be a single to right in front of Murphy for the base hit. And that brings up Bill Hinchman. So Cleveland, once again, is threatening. This is where we always take a look. We are looking to see if there are first column 11s. Clark does not have them. Not surprising because he's the catcher, so we will not hit and run. There is a question as to whether we should bunt in this situation, and that's actually perhaps a good idea, but we're going to swing away this time. Rolls a 63 for a 30, and it's a fly ball to left field. Hartzell has that for the out, 1 away. That was a situation where bunting would have helped. 1 out, and here comes Birmingham, who has a 248 average. You'd rather have him swing with the man in scoring position than on at first base. And the roll 33 for an 8, and that's a ground ball over to third base. Collins, Jimmy that is, throws to first, 2 away, and that'll bring up George Perring, and now you can't bunt, and the catcher's up there. Runner in scoring position. Perring is driven in 13. The roll 26 for a 27. Ground ball again to Jimmy Collins, who throws to first, and we go to the bottom of the 4th inning. Still 1-0 Cleveland. Here's Harry Davis. Davis is 0 for 1, hit that ground ball to Stovall. His roll 25 for an 8. That's a ground ball over to the shortstop Perring, who throws to first, 1 away. Topsy Hartzell up there now. And Topsy rolls a 56 for a 34. It's a pop-up over to the shortstop. It'll be Perring grabbing that for the out, and there's 2 away. Danny Murphy comes up now. Danny's 0 for 1. He flew out to center field, Birmingham last time. Rolls a 52 for a 27. It's a ground ball over to Bradley, who throws to first, and we go to the top of the 5th inning. Top of the 5th, 1-0 Cleveland, and that brings up Heine Berger, and so it's been a quick one. Heine Berger rolls a 32 for a 26. Ground ball to second. It'll be Eddie Collins making that play on to first. 1 away. Up is Josh Clark. Clark is 1 for 2, had a single, stole a base, and stole another one. And he rolls a 35 for a 14 and takes a walk. So we'll see if they turn him loose, and we probably will. He does have that 11. So now we get to hit and run. Now, in real life, if we're playing this, that is, if we're playing it not on the computer, if I have the boards, then I got to switch over to the hit and run boards. And let me tell you, when you do this yourself, no cameras around, sometimes you forget, right? Sometimes you're thinking, oh yeah, hit and run, and then something happens, you go over there, you come back, and you're like, oh, we'll just swing and we'll roll. Yeah, it's a little bit nicer when you're doing it like this. You got people watching to keep you honest. Roll for Stovall is a 23 for a 32. It's a fly ball over to right field. Murphy has that for the out, and there's 2 away. And that will bring up Napoleon. So Clark remains on at first base, 2 out. Here comes Napoleon, who's 1 for 1. He had the walk and then the single and the RBI. And he rolls a 45 for a 14, so he'll take his base with another walk. That brings up Bill Bradley, the third baseman. That walk is the third given up by Vickers. Of course, he walked LaJoie 2 other times. He's given up 33 this season. Bradley rolls. It's a 14 for a 43. There is a little E roll to worry about. And it's a 54 out of the range. That'll be a fly ball over to left field. Hartzell has that for the out. And we go to the bottom of the 5th inning. It's still a 1-0 lead for Cleveland. Here is Simon Nichols, the shortstop for the Athletics. Bottom of the 5th inning. Nichols is 0 for 1 today. And he rolls a 33 for a 7, and that breaks the spell. So a line drive to right field that falls in front of Hinchman, and it's a clean hit. Nichols makes it to first. Aussie Schrecken goes the catcher's up. Nichols does not have an 11. They need a run, so now we are kind of forced to bunt. And bunting is the other part where you can forget sometimes to look over, or you cheat. You look after the roll, and you're like, oh, I don't want that to happen. Whereas not happening here. Rolls a 14 for a 43. It's a good bunt to the left side. Bradley throws over to Napoleon covering at first, and Nichols moves to second. So 1 out, 2 chances for the Athletics to tie this up. Up comes Jimmy Collins. Collins is hitting 200. He's 0 for 1, struck out last time up. Jimmy, older player. I think this is his last season. Correct me if I'm wrong. And his roll 33 for a 7, and he comes through. It's a hit over to right field in front of Hinchman, and I tell you, Nichols didn't even think about hesitating. He comes around and scores the run. It's a 1-1 ball game, and that brings up Jack Coombs. So Collins gets it done, ties the ball game, and the Athletics now have new life, and this is exactly what this small but noisy crowd wanted to see at Columbia Park. Coombs comes up here hitting 226, but he has the ability to get it done, and he's got a good card. Jack rolls a 26 for a 27. That'll be a ground ball over to the third baseman, Bradley. He goes over to Napoleon for 1 at second, but the relay throw not in time at first. Jack beats it out. So with 2 outs, here comes Rube Vickers. I guess the nice thing you can say as I search for the dice is that Vickers, by hitting this inning, will not lead off the 6th. And Rube rolls a 65 for a 35. It's a pop-up over to Jay Clark, the catcher, who catches that for the out. We will go now to the top of the 6th inning, a 1-1 score in a tight ball game, so stay tuned. Jay Clark up there, hitting 250. And his roll 56 for a 34. There is a little E-roll. It's a 66 out of the range. It's a pop-up over to the left side. Nichols, the shortstop, grabs that 1 away. Up comes Bill Hinchman, who's 0 for 2. His roll is a 33 for a 0, so Bill will get a hold of this one. We just have to see how far it goes. And it's a 14 for an 11, so it ends up being a base hit to left field. Hartzell cuts that one off, stops him from getting 2, but then with Joe Birmingham up there, Hinchman able to steal second base, and that'll bring up now Birmingham with the runner on at second. Joe's 0 for 2 today. We'll swing away with him. I'm thinking about maybe bunt, probably not. And his roll is 16 for a 28, so it's as good as a bunt. It's a ground ball to Nichols. Hinchman inexplicably running to third with that ball hit in front of him, but there was no chance for Nichols with the ball hit so slowly. Hinchman makes third, and there we go up to George Perring now with 2 outs, top of the 6th. Perring hitting 8th in the order. He also 0 for 2. And he rolls a 63 for a 30. It's a fly ball to left. Hartzell's got that for the out, and so nothing happens. Nothing across for the Naps. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, and it is a 1-1 game. Eddie Collins will lead this off for Philadelphia, 0 for 2 today. His roll of 15 for a 10, and there's a little slap hit over to center field. It's a base hit in front of Birmingham, and so Collins makes it to first easily. That brings up Davis. Collins dealt, so does not have that 11, which means it's probably time to bunt once again. Davis today 0 for 2 and hasn't hit it out the infield, so we'll keep him in the infield. And the roll there at 22 for an 8, it would have been an out anyway, and that ends up being a bunt back to Heine Berger, who throws over to Napoleon, covering at first. Collins moves up to second, though, and the heart of the order is up with a fast man in scoring position. I know Collins doesn't have an F, but leadoff hitter, you got to believe that Eddie had some kind of speed. Here comes Topsy. He rolls a 45 for a 14, so Hartzell takes the walk. That'll bring up Danny Murphy. People ask me sometimes where I get my lineups from. I actually make these myself, and I do them simply. I just go based off of the OPS of the players. Semi-sabermetric approach, and it's based on the theory that your guy who gets the hits and gets on base is the guy you want up there more often. So I could go exactly with what they do in real life, and I'm thinking next time I do a replay, I'll probably do something a little closer to real life. But for these two replays, this is what I started off with, and this is what I'll go die with. Danny Murphy up there now, and he's 0 for 2. And the question is, do you swing away with Murphy and risk the double play, or do you bunt and hope that Nichols can do it with 2 outs? I think we bunt with Murphy because it's 1908. The roll is a 35 for a 9, and that's a bunt over to the left side. Bradley flips that one over to Napoleon at first, and the 2 runners move up, so it's a good bunt, but that 9 might have been a base hit. I can't remember with runners on first and second. You'll have to let me know. Simon Nichols comes up now with runners on second and third. Still a 1-1 game, bottom of the 6th inning, and this one has excitement written all over it. Nichols rolls a 21 for a 30, and that's going to do it. Fly ball to left. Jay Clark is there for the out. Josh Clark, and we go to the top of the 7th. It'll be Heine Berger leading this one off here for Cleveland. 1-1 game. And Heine's roll 11 for an 8, and that's going to be a ground ball to Nichols, who throws to first. 1 away. Josh Clark up there, 1 out, top of the 7th inning. He's 1 for 2 today. Walked, singled, stole 2 bases in a row. And his roll is 53 for 15. And that one is changed actually to a 20 by the automatic changer. That's going to be an error on Eddie Collins at second base. So that was hit to him, and he booted it. Clark now the runner on at first, and that brings up George Stovall, and he's got the 11. So we hit and run with Stovall and see what happens. George is 0 for 3. And he rolls a 43 for a 29. It's a comebacker to Vickers, who has to go to first. Clark already at second, but with 2 outs. Here comes Napoleon, who's 1 for 1. He walked twice, got his singles, and drove in a run. And with this 1-1 game, this is a very, very key moment in this ball game. Napoleon's roll is a 13 for a 36, and that's going to be a wild pitch by Vickers. So the pressure getting to Rube, and that one got away from him. Clark goes over to third base with 2 outs. And the next roll is a 34 for a 44. There is a little E-roll. It's a 56, so it's out of the range. That'll be a fly ball over to center field. Coombs has that for the out. And the center fielder / pitcher grabs that for the out. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Bottom of the 7th now, 1-1 the score. Here comes Ossie Schreckengost, who's 0 for 1 and did bunt once. So while that bunt, of course, will help his average a little bit, it sits at 217. Roll 34 for a 44. There's a little E. And it's a 44 out of the range. Fly ball to center. Birmingham has that 1 away. Jimmy Collins up there now. 206, 1 for 2 today. Singled and drove in the only run for Philadelphia. He struck out the other time up. His roll of 56 for a 34, and that's a little pop-up over to Perring, and that's the second out. A little bit too eager, I think, there for Collins. 2 away, here's Jack Coombs. And it's a 54, the roll for a 45. Fly ball right field, and Hinchman has that for the out. And that's all she wrote for that inning. So we go to the top of the 8th inning. It's 1-1. Here come the naps again, and this one's going to come down to the wire. You knew this was going to come down to the wire before we really even started. It's Bill Bradley up here now. And he rolls a 46 for a 30. Fly ball to left. Hartzell's got that 1 away. Jay Clark. Clark is 1 for 3, had a single. One of the 5 hits Cleveland's had, and he rolls a 26 for a 29. It's a ground ball back to Vickers, who throws to first. There's 2 away. Up now is Bill Hinchman. Hinchman's 1 for 3. He stole a base. He rolls a 53 for a 17, changed to 19. That's going to be a line drive over to the third baseman. Great play by Jimmy Collins, and he may be a little bit up there in age, but he can still pound that leather when it counts. And up comes Rube Vickers here. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning now. Bottom of the 8th, Athletics looking to put one across, and this is a big one for the Athletics. If they get this win, as I said, they end up being a half game behind Cleveland. Vickers is 0 for 2. Not sure what you were expecting. His roll 35 for a 13, so that'll make it an 0 for 3, and he struck out twice. One away, and here comes Eddie Collins. Collins with a 1 for 3 today with a base hit, one of the only 3 hits that the Athletics have had. We talk a lot about the hitless wonders. What do we call these guys? The white elephants, right? Rolls a 62 for a 12. There is a little E-roll. And it's a 64, way out of the range. Ground ball over to Stovall, goes to the bag himself. There are 2 away. Here is Harry Davis. 1-1 game. Davis rolls a 56 for a 34. It's a pop-up, and it's on the infield. It will be the shortstop pairing grabbing that for the out. And now we go to the top of the 9th inning in this 1-1 ball game, and it's anybody's game for the grabbing. Joe Birmingham will lead it off. Rube Vickers still out there, huffing and puffing through those 5 hits. Roll of 46 for a 27. It's a ground ball to third. Collins throws to first, 1 away. Late afternoon in Philadelphia here, late May. Sun's out a little bit longer, but this game will not be called because of darkness because it's not an option. Pairing rolls a 51 for a 9. That's a pop-up. Infield fly. Collins has that for the out, 2 away. Up comes the pitcher, Heine Berger, and you know he's staying in. If Vickers stays in, Berger's staying in. And he rolls a 32 for a 26. Ground ball to Eddie Collins, who throws to first. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning, and fasten your seatbelts. It'll be Topsy Hartzell leading this off. He's walked twice and popped up to the shortstop once. So Berger's gone 8 innings so far. 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, only 3 hits given up. And none of them have been to any man named Topsy Hartzell. Hartzell rolls a 54 for a 45. There is a little E-roll. It's a 33. It's out of the range. It's a fly ball to right field. Hinchman has that for the out, 1 away. Danny Murphy, the next man up. 1 away, bottom of the 9th inning. Murphy is 0 for 2, and he did bunt once. He rolls a 36 for a 33. Another pop-up. Napoleon LaJoey's got that, 2 away, and up comes Simon Nichols. 2 away. Nichols rolls a 36 for a 33, and it's another pop-up on the infield. LaJoey's got that one, and we go to the top of the 10th. So we go into extra innings now. As you may have noticed with this video and yesterday's video, we're going to start using chapters in these videos, make it a little bit easier for the viewer. Once we get to extra innings, though, all bets are off. We're just calling it extra innings. So up comes Josh Clark, top of the 10th. And the roll 56 for a 34. Pop up over to Nichols. The shortstop has that for the out, 1 away. Here's George Stovall. Stovall, so far today 0 for 4, rolls a 41 for a 28. Ground ball to Nichols, who fields that one cleanly on to first, 2 away. And here comes LaJoey. You look at those old pictures, you think that the parks were all sand, but that's not the case. It's just the quality of the old exposure. LaJoey up there, you got to imagine that it was a green park. Napoleon rolls a 33 for a 0. And look at that, a 66 for a 1. Now, will this one be reduced? It is, so it's reduced to a double. It's a double for Napoleon LaJoey, and Vickers is saved by the eye. He winds up on second base, does Napoleon, and that'll bring up Bradley. So the Naps with a big hit from the big man. Bill Bradley up there now with 2 away. He's driven in only 10 runs this season. He has a single today with a stolen base and made out the other 3 times. Vickers still huffing and puffing. And the roll is 62 for a 12, and that's a strikeout. So Rube puts a little bit of extra juice on that one, and we go to the bottom of the 10th inning. It'll be Aussie Streckengost here for the Athletics. This one a real wild one. Streckengost comes up, and he rolls a 52 for a 27. Ground ball over to third. Bradley fields that on to first. There's 1 away. It'll be Jimmy Collins again, who's 1 for 3. My apologies. He drove in the only run that the Athletics have. It's only the 14th he's driven in so far this season. So Jimmy, the old man, showing them how to get it done the old way. His roll 35 for a 13 and strikes out. 2 away, and up comes Jack Coombs. 2 outs, bottom of the 10th. Coombs rolls a 51 for an 8, and that's a fly ball to center field. Birmingham has that for the out, and we go now to the top of the 11th. It'll be once again Jay Clark. Clark today 1 for 4. Does have that single, but had a hard time getting it out of the infield the other 3 times. And he rolls a 43 for a 29. Not only not out of the infield, couldn't get it past the pitcher. Rube grabs that on to first, 1 away. Bill Hinchman now. Fans have not left this park on the edge of their seat, and he rolls a 31 for a 14. And Vickers with that ball 4, that looked close, but it was called a ball. And that's as close as they come. Third walk given up by Rube, and his 34th this season. That brings up Birmingham. Of course, that sets up the double play, and Joe is 0 for 4, and he hasn't hit it out of the infield. Welcome to 1908, Joe, and the roll of 25 for a 10. That's a single over to right center field between Murphy and Coombs. Coombs able to cut that one off. Birmingham held to a single. Hinchman goes to third, and then Joe able to steal second. So with one out and with pairing coming up, you have a choice. Do you leave Vickers in? Do you bring in a pinch hitter? And the other question is, do you pitch to George or do you walk him? So runners on at second and third. There's only one out. Pairing, if he's allowed to hit for himself, almost certainly is going to bunt, right? So I think we're going to decide to walk Pairing. We will then pitch to Berger. Now you remember how this works. This is according to the original rules of the APBA baseball game, and I think that if I were to read the national pastime rules, are probably written there as well. What you're supposed to do is you take your dice, right? See, there are my dice in my hand. Take your dice, you roll them, and you say walk him as you click, I guess, on the intentional walk. So we say walk him, and we say, yes, we will issue it. The roll would have been a 64 for a 27 for a bunt and might have scored the run. I don't know. We'd have to go check. That brings up Heine Berger, and now you have a big question. The infield comes in. We're going to leave Rube Vickers in the ball game. Berger is 0 for 4. He hasn't hit it out of the infield either. The problem that we have are all these 13s on the cards. You'll recall that we've talked about this a little bit before. 13 means that the runner on a third base is the dead duck if you bunt, but we have the pitcher up to bat. So we have to do something, right? The natural thing to do in this situation is to bunt. With only one out with a pitcher up, you got to bunt. That's what we're going to do, and we're going to let the chips fall where they may. I bring that up because I forget how this works in APBA, but as far as NP3 is concerned, I think this is the big weakness of the game. Of course, I'm playing 1908, and look at what happens. Berger, you see, rolls a 31. 31 is supposed to be a base hit roll, but because he's a pitcher, he's got a 13, which means that it's a strike to Berger. He misses the bunt, and the runner's thrown out. The other two runners are able to advance a base. Should be called stolen bases, but it won't, and there's 2 away now for Berger. No chance for the bunt. It happened again. So controversy reigns supreme today. Here comes Heine again, and he rolls a 44 for a 9, and that's a base hit. Little infield hit, and there's no play. I'm not sure which side it was hit to. I'm guessing the right side. And that scores the run, and Berger able to make up for that disaster. And it's a 2-1 game, and boy, this is a real dramatic moment of this ball game. Heine Berger, the pitcher, who hadn't successfully done anything at all. Heine Berger, who just failed trying to bunt home the run, gets the base hit in the top of the 11th inning. And I know what you're thinking. Why didn't you bring in the relief pitcher for Vickers, who's out of gas? It's going to be Josh Clark, and you know Rube's not going to want to come out of this game. We'll let him in for one more unless he gives up a base hit here. The roll by Clark's a 63 for a 31. It's a fly ball to center. Coombs has that for the out, but it's too little too late. We go to the bottom of the 11th inning, and it's Rube Vickers' spot leading it off. So there will be a pinch hitter in here for Vickers. Vickers is going to be replaced, and it's going to be my friend Shog Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy comes into this ball game. He's hitting 154. He only had 31 plate appearances in real life. He's probably going to beat that here in game unless he's off the roster soon. I haven't looked to see when he leaves the roster for the Athletics, if he does during the season. But we like to use Shag Shaughnessy because he has a card that's at least somewhat decent. So nobody out, bottom of the 11th. Heine Berger, who's the big hero now, who just put Cleveland up 2-1, is going to stay in to finish this one out. And Shaughnessy rolls a 31 for a 10, and that's a base hit to center field in front of Birmingham. And now we got something cooking. So Shaughnessy is able to get on base. Shag is a slow runner, does, however, have an 11. That means that we're going to hit and run with Eddie Collins. So here comes Eddie Collins up to bat. And we'll see what we can do. Collins today is 1 for 4, does have a single, hit a fly ball, and then made 2 outs in the infield. And his roll is a 43 for a 29. It's a comebacker to Berger, who throws to first, and Shag goes to second. 1 away. Harry Davis now up there. Heine's got 2 more outs to get. Davis today is 0 for 3. He did sacrifice once. He's driven an 18, so he's the ideal man to have up in this situation. We will not bunt. We will swing away with him. And the roll of 54 for a 45. It's a fly ball to right field. Hinchman's got that for the out, so now there's 2 away. Topsy Hartzell, and he's the last chance for the Athletics. Topsy's 0 for 2, walked twice. Topsy's driven in 10, hitting though in the 3 spot, but he's not going to be for long. He's in a bit of a slump. And this is it. This is the final curtain call for the Athletics. And the roll, look at that, 52-27. That's a ground ball over to Bradley. The third baseman has that and throws over to first for the out, and there's your ball game. So Heine Berger, the big hero of this one, ends up going the distance, 11 strong innings, and drives in the winning run himself. 2-1 for Cleveland, who win a big game on the road, and I sure hope that you enjoy this one. We'll see you tomorrow with another one of these. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.